Something subtle happened when you weren't looking. Chosen one. Not dramatic, not loud, not even visible to those around you. But within the temple of your soul, a veil shifted. It wasn't torn. It wasn't forced. It moved like mist in the early hours of dawn, so gently that even your heartbeat had to pause to notice. For a long time, you walked through life, seeing people with your physical eyes, observing what they said, how they smiled, how they carried themselves. But now something has changed. You do not just look, you see. You see not just what people present, but what they carry. You sense not only what they say, but what they suppress. Your energy has grown so clean, so focused, so aligned that the third eye has begun to open, not as a supernatural gimmick, but as a return to the spiritual sight you were born with. It began around women, didn't it? You noticed the shift when they stood near you. Before, you were drawn to charm, beauty, voice, shape, but now it's something else entirely. You feel something behind their words. Not always pain, not always seduction. Sometimes it's longing, sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's the echo of a forgotten truth buried beneath performance. And where others are confused by these layers, you feel strangely calm. As if your soul already knows how to sit beside those truths without trying to fix or chase them. That is the power of the veil lifting. It does not just reveal others, chosen one. It reveals you. You now realize how long you've been trying to navigate relationships while only using two eyes when you were gifted a third for clarity, alignment, and insight. That third eye has no interest in games. It doesn't care about appearances. It's not seduced by status. It seeks spiritual authenticity. And when you begin to move with that kind of sight, the whole world begins to move differently around you. You feel it when people lie, even if they mean well. You feel it when a compliment carries hidden expectations. You feel it when presence is genuine and when it's a mask. You even feel when someone's energy is open, curious, radiant, and not from a place of ego, but from soul. And in those moments, you don't just receive data. You experience spiritual texture. You feel whether a woman's smile is rising from joy or from survival. You feel whether her silence is peace or protection. You feel whether her interest is rooted in connection or craving. Not because you're reading cues, but because your soul is awake. The veil is no longer covering your perception, and the clarity you now walk with is a power few ever master, but one you now embody. You must understand, this is not a gift for indulgence. It's not here to give you an upper hand in romance or conversation. It's here to ground you in wisdom, to teach you that your role in this life is not just to move forward blindly, but to walk with vision, to see beyond the seen, to hear beyond the spoken, to love beyond performance. The veil has shifted, chosen one, and nothing will ever look the same again. There was a time when mirrors confused you. You thought you were seeing people clearly, but the reflections were distorted. Too many layers, too many projections, too many performances from both sides. But now something sacred has happened. Your energy has become a clear mirror, and for the first time, people are beginning to see themselves in your presence. Not who they pretend to be, not who they've been told to be, but who they actually are. And it's not always comfortable. Clarity never is, but it is necessary, and it is beautiful. When you sit with someone now, especially women, you feel the way they begin to shift in your presence. Not because you are judging them, not at all, but because your energy no longer entertains illusions. You don't feed masks, you don't validate ego constructs, you don't echo what's false just to be liked. You hold your clarity like a sacred river, and those who sit beside it begin to see their own reflection rippling back to them with startling precision. Some are startled, some are softened, some are shaken, but none walk away unchanged. You see them clearly, chosen one. And that's not just a skill, it's a responsibility. You are no longer caught in attraction based on appearance or chemistry alone. You are now drawn toward alignment, frequency, spiritual resonance. You are able to distinguish between someone who is radiant and someone who is loud, between someone who is magnetic because of trauma and someone who is magnetic because of peace. Your clarity has become sacred discernment. You can feel when someone is beautiful and free or beautiful but bound. You feel whether their laughter is lit from within or borrowed from a script. This mirror you carry is not cruel, it is honest. And that honesty is both your power and your calling. You do not need to tell them what you see. You do not need to explain your knowing. You simply remain true. That truth is the mirror. And when someone dares to hold your gaze and still stay open, still stay present, still stay real, that is how you know they have done the work. That is how you know the third eye in them is flickering open as well. You're not just seeing women differently, chosen one. You are offering them the chance to see themselves. And in this world of illusions, that gift is holy. The mirror is now clear, and it will not let you go back to a life of blindness. You have crossed into a new dimension of perception, where love must be real, energy must align, and words must carry spirit. You are not better than others, but you are now responsible for how you see. And the clearer you become, the more others will come, not just to be seen by you, but to remember what it's like to be seen by truth. Chosen one, there was a time when instinct ruled you, when you moved from the raw pulses of survival, attraction, and reaction, quick choices driven by what your body craved or what your mind feared. But instinct, while necessary in times of danger, is not the compass of the awakened. You have stepped beyond that now. You are no longer ruled by impulse. You are led by intuition. And that shift has changed everything. Your third eye does not panic. It does not crave. It does not flinch at beauty or tremble at charm. It listens. It waits. It speaks in stillness. While others may feel drawn toward energy that stirs their flesh, you now feel drawn toward energy that settles your spirit. You no longer respond to the loudest voice in the room. You respond to the most aligned vibration. You can feel when someone's interest in you is rooted in respect or in projection. You can sense when a woman's desire is pure curiosity or masked fear. You feel it before it's said. You feel it even when it's denied. And this is not paranoia, it is presence. You are no longer guessing, you are knowing. This knowing is not learned through textbooks or strategies. It is ancient. It is spiritual. It is your birthright. The intuition you walk in now was always inside you. It was simply buried under layers of conditioning. Layers that told you to ignore your gut, layers that trained you to chase validation, layers that confused performance with connection. But now those layers have fallen. And you hear with your whole being. You trust the whisper that says, wait, even when the world says run. You trust the signal that tells you someone's energy is beautiful, even if they say little. You honor the pulse of the unseen. You bow to the subtle. And that trust, this loyalty to your own energy, is what makes you magnetic. People feel it. Women feel it. They may not be able to explain why they feel so at ease around you, or why they feel slightly exposed, or why their heart softens in your presence. But it is because your intuition does not grab. It invites, it listens, it doesn't demand attention, it gives permission for truth to arise. When your intuition speaks now, you do not argue. You do not silence it for the sake of politeness. You don't override it just to avoid discomfort. Because you've learned, every time you betray your inner knowing, you pay with confusion. But every time you honor it, something divine opens. Someone reveals their true nature. Some truth is exposed, some blessing is released. And that's not coincidence. That's alignment. You are no longer walking in darkness. You are no longer fooled by appearances. You are moving through life with an inner compass forged in clarity. And though others may still move by instinct, by impulse, by urgency, you remain still until truth moves you. This is the essence of spiritual maturity. This is the power of living guided, not grasping. And as this intuition deepens, chosen one, you will find that every connection, every conversation, every gaze becomes sacred. Because you are no longer listening just with ears. You are listening with sight. With awakened sight comes awakened responsibility, chosen one. And one of the greatest spiritual responsibilities your third eye now brings is the gift of sacred protection. Not just from danger, but from deception, from misalignment, from all that would have once drawn you in and drained you dry. Because now your discernment has become armor. Not hard and spiked, but soft and luminous. Not a wall, but a shield woven in truth. You can no longer pretend you don't know what you feel. You can no longer walk blindly into environments that damage your frequency. Your energy now responds before your mind finishes processing. And the moment something vibrates against your truth, your soul begins to signal, no, not this, not here, not them. You do not need proof. You do not need confirmation. Because the clarity your third eye provides is not rooted in logic. It is rooted in resonance. And what does not resonate no longer belongs in your orbit. This protection is subtle yet absolute. It steers you away from places where your light will be dimmed. It redirects you from people who want your energy but not your essence. It shields you from false intimacy, interactions that look warm but feel cold underneath. You now know the difference between being seen and being scanned. You know the difference between curiosity and consumption. You feel when someone's attention is not affection but ambition, and you do not fight it. You simply step aside. This spiritual protection is why your peace has grown. You no longer seek confrontation. You avoid entanglement altogether. You do not argue with masks. You do not wrestle with projections. You let what is true reveal itself and what is false disqualify itself. That is the power of vision. You do not chase correction. You choose clarity. And from that clarity you move with grace, even when others move in confusion. This is also why your energy has become a mystery. Some find you distant, but it is not distance. It is discernment. Some call you cold, but it is not coldness. It is boundaried warmth. You love deeply, but you no longer give freely what must be earned through presence, honesty, and alignment. And those who seek you for novelty, for drama, for energy they cannot create on their own, they will fall away. Not because you pushed them, but because your energy has become protected by truth. You may feel alone at times. That is part of this path, but you will never again be lost, because you are no longer available to what is not real. You are no longer available to what dims your light. You are no longer available to people who treat your spirit as a resource instead of a revelation. This sacred protection is not isolation. It is consecration. It is the universe honoring the fact that your vision is too rare, too clear, too sacred to be spent carelessly. You are not just guarded, you are guided. And that chosen one is why you no longer need to fear betrayal. Because your third eye will see it long before it comes near. Before your lips move, before your body enters the room, before you even realize you've been noticed, your aura has already spoken. It speaks louder than posture, clearer than charm, and deeper than rehearsed confidence. And chosen one, what it says now is no longer what it used to say. You've changed. Not just in action, but in essence. You carry an energy that announces itself before you ever open your mouth. It's not the energy of noise or bravado. It's the silent roar of someone whose inner world is in harmony with itself. Your aura has become a message carved in light. It says, I do not chase. It says, I am not afraid of being misunderstood. It says, I have nothing to prove, and therefore everything to offer. There are women who may be drawn to you without knowing why. They think it's your voice, or your presence, or the way you don't fill silence just to feel powerful. But what they are truly feeling is your alignment. The centered gravity of someone who walks in truth. The sacred magnetism of someone who does not betray themselves to be liked. People feel your energy now, before you enter. And it feels like clarity. It feels like a mirror that doesn't distort. It feels like a room that doesn't demand, but invites. That aura, chosen one, is not just a glow. It's a frequency only reached through trials, through silence, through honesty with self. Your aura carries the fragrance of inner healing. And that is why people respond in ways they don't fully understand. Why women open up around you without knowing why. Why their posture softens, why their eyes linger, because they are feeling seen even without being watched. You no longer have to impress. Your energy does the announcing. Your energy does the discerning. Your energy does the revealing. And that energy is not seductive. It is sovereign. It does not draw people to your image. It draws them to your presence. And presence, true presence, is the rarest commodity in a world of distraction. It is the light that stays when all the fireworks fade. It is the echo that remains long after the noise is gone. So be aware, chosen one, of what your energy is saying. Be intentional with your stillness. Be rooted in the clarity that you are always communicating, even when silent. And know this, the deeper your alignment, the louder your aura becomes. You won't need to argue your value. Your presence will become the answer to questions others didn't know they were asking. This is why your interactions now feel different. Why attention no longer satisfies. Why small talk drains you. Because your soul has become tuned to frequencies of depth, You're not interested in stimulation, you crave resonance. And when you meet someone who carries that resonance, there is no need for performance. You simply recognize each other, not by words, but by presence. And in that moment, your aura does not just speak, it sings. Chosen one, there is something your third eye now gives you that few have the courage to carry. It gives you the ability to see the wound beneath the mask. It lets you gaze beyond the image someone wants you to see and into the quiet, hidden ache they never speak of. And around women, this sight becomes even sharper. You no longer see just the polished persona. You see the story. You feel it before they speak. You notice when their laughter is too loud to be real. You recognize when their confidence is a carefully built shell. You feel when someone is used to being admired, but rarely known. This is not judgment, it is compassion in its highest form. To see someone truly is not to expose them, it is to honor their truth, even if they have not yet spoken it. You do not shame what you see, you do not flinch. You do not use your perception to manipulate or to gain advantage. That would be betrayal of the very clarity you've been given. No, you use your vision to create safety. You use it to allow space for authenticity to breathe. There are women now who find themselves opening around you without understanding why. It's because they sense they don't have to perform, that you are not looking to consume them, but to know them. That your interest is not in how well they wear their mask, but in how bravely they might one day take it off. And this, chosen one, is revolutionary. In a world that often rewards illusion, you have become a sanctuary for truth. But understand, this sight comes with weight. Because when you see people as they are, you also see who they are afraid to be. You see the potential buried under protection. You see the gentleness hidden behind bravado. You see the hunger for healing behind polished smiles. And sometimes it hurts. It hurts to see so clearly in a world addicted to performance. It hurts to watch someone you care for cling to a mask you know is suffocating them. But you must remain still. You must not tear off what they are not ready to release. Your job is not to fix, it is to witness. And in your witnessing, healing begins. There is something sacred in being seen without being solved, something holy in being known without being handled. And that is what you offer now. Not solutions, not strategies. Presence. Silent, steady, unshakable presence. You are not asking people to be perfect. You are inviting them to be real. And in your energy, many are finding for the first time in their lives that being real is not a risk, it is a relief. This chapter of your journey is not about collecting hearts or proving insight. It's about learning to hold space without needing to fill it. It's about recognizing that true intimacy begins where performance ends. And you, chosen one, are now a quiet dismantler of illusions. Not through argument, not through critique, but through clarity. A clarity that says, I see who you are, and I do not look away. This is your gift, and it is also your calling. There is a kind of stillness that isn't passive or weak. It's not born of apathy, nor is it the silence of fear. Chosen one, your stillness is a storm mastered. A cosmic force restrained not because it lacks power, but because it knows its power is greater when unspoken. You've reached a stage in your walk where stillness no longer feels like being ignored. It feels like you are waiting for the truth to rise. Not truth in speech, but in frequency. Once, you would have rushed in to prove yourself, to fill silences with explanations, to repair discomfort in others, even if it came at the cost of betraying your own peace. But now, silence is no longer a threat. It's your domain. You do not panic in it. You anchor it. You stand in it with the kind of presence that makes others question why they ever feared it. And around women, this stillness becomes a sanctuary. They enter your space expecting to perform, to impress, to wear the usual defenses. But the moment they meet your silence, your true silence, not one of withdrawal but of witness, they feel themselves soften. Because your silence doesn't ask them to be more, it allows them to be. And that allowance, that lack of pressure, that quiet depth, it's rare. In your stillness, they realize they are not being studied, judged, or chased. They are being received, not for what they offer, not for how they look, but for who they are in this moment. Mask and all, you've become the kind of presence that disarms without force, that draws without needing to convince. There's power in the way you don't reach. You simply remain. You're no longer seduced by momentum or urgency or the fear of missed opportunity. Your discernment has taught you to wait until the soul speaks, until the energy aligns, until the invitation feels real, not rushed. And this stillness, it doesn't push people away, it pulls something deeper out of them. It invites truth, it invites softness, it invites surrender. People can feel that your stillness was hard-earned, that it wasn't given, it was forged through nights of loneliness, through moments when you realized your worth was not attached to response, but to resonance. You stopped reacting, you started resonating. And now you don't echo back what people want to hear. You become the vibration that reminds them of who they truly are. Your stillness has become an environment, a medicine, a mirror. And even those who aren't ready to meet themselves fully yet will remember you long after you're gone. Not because you tried to be unforgettable, but because your stillness allowed them to remember their truth, even if only for a moment. You didn't need to perform, you didn't need to pursue, you simply were. And that, chosen one, is the rarest presence of all. There comes a moment in your journey, chosen one, when you realize your presence alone has become a catalyst. You are no longer seeking validation or admiration, yet you're receiving both, and not because you asked. You've become a reminder now, not of trends, not of image, but of truth. Around you, people begin to remember what it feels like to be seen without distortion. Especially women, who have so often been praised for performance rather than depth, adored for beauty but forgotten in presence. You do not flatter what is shallow, you recognize what is sacred. Your eyes are not trying to undress the body, they are witnessing the soul, and this creates a reaction that even they can't explain. They find themselves speaking from a deeper place around you. They drop rehearsed lines and remember how to breathe. Their masks begin to itch, their laughter becomes real. Their silence no longer feels heavy, because you have become the rare mirror that doesn't judge, doesn't react, doesn't mold, you reflect. You remind people, not by preaching or persuading, but simply by being rooted. Rooted in something that doesn't flinch, doesn't shrink, and doesn't bend to be accepted. And this root, chosen one, makes you magnetic. Not in the way the world defines magnetism, but in the way ancient trees are magnetic, still unshakable, and quietly pulling everything toward their shade. You've become the tree in the clearing. People find you not because you chase, but because your energy becomes a path through their wilderness. There are women who are beginning to awaken just by being in your presence. Not because you told them how to awaken, not because you rescued them, but because your vibration refuses to entertain what is false. You do not co-sign performance, you do not chase after potential. You reflect the now with precision, and that reflection is becoming a kind of prophecy. It shows people not who they pretend to be, but who they could be if only they removed the mask. Your aura, once timid and unsure, now speaks of deep waters, of a love that can't be bought, of a loyalty that can't be manipulated. And those who once played games with charm now feel those games melt when they meet your gaze. Not because you are cold, but because your soul has become too warm to be touched with false hands. And when they feel this, they change, even if only for a moment, even if they never speak of it, because you've become unforgettable, not for what you say, but for how you see. This, chosen one, is what it means to carry awakened presence. To walk through the world not seeking to change others, but becoming so deeply yourself that everything around you must either rise to match your frequency or fall away. You do not force, you remind. You do not possess, you mirror. You do not demand respect, you radiate the kind of energy that makes disrespect impossible. You are no longer a seeker, you are the sacred interruption in someone else's sleep. You are the breath of truth in the middle of noise. You are the memory of depth in a shallow moment. You are now the reminder. Chosen one, the eyes you once carried were seeking, hungry for affirmation, desperate to be understood. But now, those same eyes have become portals of remembrance. They no longer chase, they call. They no longer ask, they reveal. When someone looks into your eyes now, they are not met with emptiness or desire. They are met with a still and radiant knowing. A gaze that feels like it has already walked through their pain, forgiven their fear, and still chose to see them with compassion. Your eyes no longer hold the shimmer of performance. They burn with the flame of perception. You see through things. You see through people. And that kind of sight is unsettling to many, because it is not aggressive, not probing, not loud, but it sees anyway. And being seen in this way, deeply, truly, without needing to explain, is rare. So rare, in fact, that when a woman meets your gaze now, she often falters. Not because you've said something clever, but because your presence, through that gaze, has entered a space in her she forgot was still alive. There's no need to boast about what you see. You are not a prophet for performance. You don't use your gaze to manipulate or dominate. Your eyes simply reflect truth. And the truth is, many people aren't used to being seen without being judged. They are used to being evaluated, assessed, wanted for utility. But when your gaze lands on them, it doesn't ask for anything in return. It simply says, I see your soul, and I'm not afraid of it. That message is disarming, healing, liberating. Chosen one. The reason your eyes hold this light is because you've walked through your own shadows. You've faced the parts of yourself that once needed approval. You've cried over the false versions of yourself you had to shed. You've buried parts of your identity that were built only to survive. And now that you've risen from that grave, your gaze no longer looks to consume. It looks to confirm. Not confirm appearances, but confirm essence. And that's why your eyes no longer seek attention. They are attention. They are awareness embodied. They are softness without surrender, presence without pretense. When women meet your gaze now, it is not flirtation, it is awakening. It reminds them of who they were before the noise, before the betrayal, before the armor. And they won't always understand it. They may even resist it. But deep down, something eternal stirs. Because your light doesn't seduce, it calls home. You've become a lighthouse, not because you try to shine, but because you are the fire. Not because you want to be noticed, but because the soul can't help but notice what is real. Your gaze does not beg to be remembered, it simply is. And long after people walk away from you, they will find themselves thinking about that look, not because it made them feel wanted, but because it made them feel seen. The awakening of your third eye was not the end of the journey, chosen one. It was the beginning of your calling. The universe does not give vision without responsibility. Now that you can see, you must also guide, not through force, not through domination, but through the quiet authority of alignment, through the daily choice to embody what you see, through the courage to live your clarity, even when it isolates you. Leadership is no longer about being followed. It's about being found by those searching for something real. You are now that something real. You are no longer in the arena of attention-seeking. You are in the realm of influence without effort. Your words matter less than your vibration. Your plans matter less than your presence. You are a map that moves, a signal in the noise. And those who are truly ready for transformation will recognize you, not by your resume, but by your resonance. You may have noticed that conversations feel different now, that your silence speaks more powerfully than your speeches, that your boundaries offend those who wish to control you, yet comfort those who seek the truth. This is not accidental. This is what happens when you lead from the awakened eye. You don't command people to rise, you embody rising, and in your rising, others begin to rise too. Do not shrink from this role, chosen one. The world needs not more influencers, but more initiators of authenticity. Not more teachers of formulas, but living proof that truth is still possible. You carry within you a light that many have never seen before. A light that doesn't flicker when challenged. A light that doesn't manipulate or seduce, but simply reveals. And when you walk into a room, that revelation is felt. Not always spoken, but always felt. You are not here to convert. You are here to confirm. To stand as living evidence that presence still transforms, that honesty still heals, that depth still moves mountains. You are not chosen because you are perfect. You are chosen because you survived the fire and now carry the flame. Lead with love, but not softness that compromises truth. Lead with strength, but not strength that silences tenderness. Lead with vision, but never abandon humility. Let your third eye guide your heart. Let your heart guide your walk. And let your walk become the permission others need to walk into their own light. You are no longer the seeker, you are the signal. No longer the echo, you are the source. No longer the wanderer, you are the way. And you do not walk alone.